my stuffs online. Proud of anything you they do online. I be proud blogger online. SammyKaymedia.com online. Go check my stuffs online. Proud of anything you they do online.
And band culture we hear is a concept that is developed by Dark Suburb and together with Awake TV. And today we are going to break down what all this is about, what band culture stands for. And also, let's not forget, Dark Suburb is also going to let us understand their concept. Their concept once again. I am very sure that some of you have heard it all again, but it's very important that beautiful. Thank you very much. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to allow Mr. Kankan Bezin to once again introduce himself and tell us about the Dark Suburb concept. Okay, so here you go.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for coming. This is a conference to outdoor a concept developed by a concept. When I say a concept, it's developed by a concept. Dark Suburb is a concept in its own, and we have developed a concept which is like a reality TV show to push a culture of bands in the country. And we believe in the long run, it's going to affect the quality of music that we produce from our Ghanaian or inshallah African space. Now, this press conference is very important to Dark Suburb, having the press here, who are the people to take information around. Because Dark Suburb has been a 4-year-old brand, right? 4 years, yeah. And we've come through thick and thin. There was a time Dark Suburb was everywhere, and all of a sudden Dark Suburb disappeared. And it's funny that everybody was just waiting, where's Dark Suburb? You know, and all of a sudden we came out from nowhere. But we've been in this country. We've been doing the real things, if you like. So I want to break down that transition, that journey. Because if you followed our bio in the past, those who are following Dark Suburb, there was a whole thing about the dead being raised up, you know, as metaphors to come and change the situation, and then the whole devil tag came. Because after we released our first project, that was in 2015, that was our first EP. We went as far as Ghana Music Awards, the main stage. And we played because we're the winners of the unsung category. And the next day we're all over the news. Then the devil invocation tag came. So that just swayed everything else that we're doing. But we kept our horses. 2016 we released another album, and that album went as far as African Music Awards Album of the Year. And those were nominations. But we got these nominations without, one would say, the major mass following, which really wasn't our concern, because people keep asking why weren't we promoting, were we not in the media space. But we're in the media space because we're in the Dark Suburb space. And that leads me to explain that Dark Suburb is, as the name suggests, is the dark suburbs of our society. To us, dark suburbs are the places that there's no light, the places that there's no opportunity, or the places that there's no education. And we're interested to know that we would like to say today that Dark Suburb is evolved by Zongo youth, or young people from a Zongo. And when we kept that fact away, everybody knew that first, our music that was coming out, people were giving credit to foreign countries. You get people who say, are they Ghanaian? You get that is interesting. But to add that these were Zongo youth, an environment that you will not expect a brand that can go as far as to us in honor of African Music Awards, for a panel of musicians to sit down and say, this is an album which was our first album, that was like album of the year nomination. It was a big deal, and it made a statement, and that's the statement that we are all about, that in these spaces, these dark suburbs, these ghettos, there are a lot of youth that if there are opportunities exposed to them, you don't know how far Ghana will go. And I like to use the word ghetto because it goes beyond zongos. But to me, the biggest slum, one of the biggest slums in Africa, which is one of the biggest slums in Ghana, called Agboglushi, is a zongo. Chief Adelaide. Yeah. And Chief Bori is one of the young leaders we've been working in the Zongos with for over 2 years. So Zongo Boys evolved a brand, a concept, and that concept is a space. And in that space, they are represented by skeletons who are masquerades. And masquerades is a culture that is deep rooted in African history and culture. And it also exposes our lack of knowledge of what African culture is. Because every day we hear in the media, and we should promote our culture, and our youth don't know our culture, and our children don't know our culture. And then you have your children take your culture of masquerades, who are even very, very popular in Central region. We call them Kaka Mutobi. And then the devil tag comes to it. It exposes a lot, doesn't it? So those were the experiments and then the proof that we were hoping and capturing. And it sounds so academic because the people who involved this, Adele, Umar inclusive, were a lot in social work, and we saw the hardship and then the waste. And we realized that no NGO in the world can solve the problems of the youth in these ghettos. And we do have some youth in the ghettos that got opportunity. Because we get some Zongo children very good at this. You know what I'm saying? But then we are exposed growing up to slums. In front of your house, there are slums of your northern brothers who are living there. You know them in the north, we are brothers. We are family. But he's sleeping in Agboglushi and his uncle is in this neighborhood. It's possible. So we are all Ghanaians, we're one and the same people. So the whole Dark Suburb concept is that, can these places represent something big that the world would respect? And through that thing, build a trust that the privileged can well help the underprivileged. Because if we, the underprivileged, are now willing to learn and evolve, it will make the work of the privileged donors, supporters, whatever the world wants to call them today, be more comfortable. Because we know what NGOs are in Ghana. And I don't even want to go talking about when we started this concept, internet fraud among the Zongo youth was also growing. So we were tallying it with what we are doing positively, which was very difficult. With what they were doing illegally, which they can justify. It's not justifiable to be a thief though, but the circumstance that some of them live in, he prefers that path than any other thing. So to us, we feel education is very important. But do we sit back and wait for them, government and all these people to come and build the schools? No. We, the youth, can build the schools somehow, if we really intend to. And that's why we're working with Mr. George, who owns a musical institution. And he trained some of the members of Dark Suburb. So it was a concept built, and now we're looking for band to build a band. So we had to find musicians. And that was also a very stressful journey. But it's safe to say that now we are here. And the characters that represent the band Dark Suburb are built from African legends. So my character is Kanka Mansa Musa, and Mansa Musa is known in the Mali Empire, but most people didn't even know the Mali Empire expanded as far as northern Ghana. And some of the people of Mansa Musa, who are Wangara, Bambara, and all these tribes, live in your Zongos with these cultures and histories, but we don't know them, neither do the world. So what are we targeting to sell really in tourism? And that's why band culture. So we succeeded in building a band in this kind of environment, and the band has gone far musically. to us now we are at the promotion stage, really, for Dark Suburb. It's safe to say Dark Suburb is now starting. Because for 2 years we now had to be in the slum, like you see Chief here, working with the people. And my character Kanka is linked with a traditional journalist called de.vils. He was of the Dagomba tribe, and he built the biggest clan in the Dagomba culture, who keep the history of Dagombas, inform them about things in the environment, educate them. And you, if you're a journalist here, you know that's the definition of journalism. But the African journalists, they did it through music. Today, maybe Kanka Beezing, as an African journalist doing it through music, will now give our other professional journalists an understanding of what we are communicating. Because if you, even the press, understand the concept Dark Suburb, it will make our promotion factor easier. You know, I like to stop and do an exhibition here. So Musa is a classic example of de.vils clan. He's a descendant, and it's a culture that is transferred from generation to generation. And these people, we still exist. I say we because my character is de.vils, who is the founder of their clan. You know, and Kanka is just an addition because of the how they call it, the hospitality or the kindness of Kanka. So we hide it because we're on a journey of kindness. You know, and this clan still exists today, and they're playing traditional African instruments, which are like the talking drums, which is still part of our sound. That's how you get it. So we're evolving African instrumentation into what people call rock as a Western culture. So our sound is Afro rock, but it's built on a real culture, a real people. And band culture is a concept that these people now define. So when I say Dark Suburb, you understand the space that we stand for. But I'm Kanka Beezing of Dark Suburb, you know, and I'm the lead singer, spokesman, kind of new African journalist, and we do it through music. And our thing is now to tell the story of these spaces that we experience, and in the outcome of it, make the revenue that we need to make to develop the things that we need to develop. That is simply our concept. But in the journey, we want to evolve, give opportunity to other people in this music industry. And aside that, if we're alone, you know, go be, you know, in Ghana. And bands was a thing in Ghana in the past, but bands are gone. We would say we're coming back, but we are not enough. And I think it also has to get to a stage where Ghanaian musicians should really study music, you know, and that's why we're working with Mr. George, who will talk to you about the impact of, you know, music education to the industry. We are still learning musically, but the more we learn, the more we know. And these kind of sounds that we want to evolve, if Mr. George will tell you, if you don't understand what he's playing, you cannot use it to any optimal, you know, and that's what we all preach, that Africans add your culture to your culture, to your music, because our music is our culture, but then add our culture, because today our culture is Afrobeat, right? So I would say add your culture to your culture, because there's still a subculture that is still laying there, and we can use that to affect our tourism, to affect our environment. And if you say you want to affect tourism, and for us a band, we dream of a festival probably in Ghana is a festival of bands, which band culture is heading towards. But we can't sit down hoping that it happens. we have to build an opportunity for other bands to be able to exist. You know, we're not praying for it to be a Ghanaian thing alone. I'm hoping to see Musa in band culture with guitarists, backup drummers, and some of them sing when they're playing the talking drum, though the drum talks. You know, we could have someone who plays sca.ry and he has put together a band, and it's evolving. Afrobeat bands. We don't get gospel bands. You know, it's a concept now built. Once again, I'll practice it by Zongo. Ghetto youth, and it's not necessarily for ghetto youth. It's for the whole nation. So band culture is a concept, which is a reality TV show of a band competition for 12 weeks, with bands falling out until we get a final winner, who gets a winning prize, very good prize. I think the prize we mentioned a little later. So Dark Suburb is presenting this show, Band Culture. Kanka Bizin is going to be a host on it. Queen B is going to be a host on it, and then Mr. George is one of the judges. It's very emotional for a band like us, with the journey we're telling you, and then the concept, how difficult it is to get people to believe in the brand. So we came to our, I call him Sika Skeleton, who is the CEO of Awake TV, and he heard the concept, and he thought that brands like us need the opportunity. You know, so Awake TV was willing to partner with us to come up with this big reality TV show, which is hopefully going to start in August. But from now till then, we'll be doing the ads, we'll be calling in bands, we'll be pitching other bands we know to compete. And the show is also going to in a long term affect tourism, because we have more bands. We would have been able to push a band culture. We would have been able to make a case for live band music, if you like. And that is why Mr. George is part of one of the judges. He owns Strings Music School, a school that some of us are beneficiaries of. You know, even some of your favorite musicians are going to that school. And we're going to push and try and develop that school through what we're doing. So we have good technical judges who are going to be involved, and it's going to be very, very professionally standardized. That's what I'm saying, because it's very much for music players. And that's what people like Mr. George and many people are advocating, that our musicians who play music can start composing real originals and pushing themselves out there. And band culture is hoping to give that opportunity. So I'm going to let Adele put his 50 cents or 50 CDs of Dark Suburb and the Zongo evolution of education, the impact of music, you know, on Zongos, and why music is one of the paths we've chosen to use to develop what we develop. And then any other thing I can say would have to be directed by your question.
All right, so thank you, Kanka. This mask is very uncomfortable, but I'm going to do my best to still speak to it. So basically, we're talking.
They say kudi de kudi ni ai. Money is money. It's 50,000 cash, and then there's an opportunity to get a record deal too, and that opportunity also comes with another phase of competition. We won't go into that. So and yes, it's not restricted to the people in Dark Suburbs. It's open to the whole nation. You know, you can even be in East Legon and form your band. And like Queen B said, you can even be an artist who's not big and popular. You know, but we feel like you could go and set up a band and come and participate. You know, so to us, we don't think there's a limitation even to the genre. You know, we think you can invent your own sound and come, because that's what Dark Suburb have been doing. We invented our own sound and it's worked for us.
And about the voting?
Yeah, and it's voting. Yeah, it's 12 weeks, and every week there's an eviction. You know, and it's the last band standing. You know, but there's a second prize and a third prize too, respectively. But it's voting. People vote for you, and then you stay in on it. But then there's also a factor with the technical judges, because this is also very professional. You know, so the judges have a certain percentage in the voting part and that balances it out. He's saying he felt as evoking demons You see how that goes far? It was that far, but we just left it because at the end of the day, we still wanted to. Now that people know Dark Suburb has a Zongo affiliation as a brand, that's a surprise. But it also creates a pride, which goes back to your first question: is that you're probably saying it because you see a big difference between an advantage brand in some place because they're exposed to things, and we in the Zongos will not be exposed to the things. But with the little exposure that we got, see what we are today. You know, so right now I just feel that it's the time. And another thing too is that the social impact that we're in the slums I was working with. When I went to the slum, a lot of them don't know who Dark Suburb is. You get it? But we're explaining the concept and know and going. Now if you go to those environments that NGOs have used, there's distrust. So it's one thing that we are building a brand and using the Zongo to promote, because in Africa now I'm suffering is a seller. You get what I'm saying? So you want to come out with a certain pride. So we don't want to go explain anything so the brand went far on the basis of just the music. And when it went and we went into the ghetto, they realized that it is we who are bringing something big to represent them and not using their suffering to sell for anything. Doesn't make sense.
I've known them for a while. I also came back to the country and went to one of their shows, and that is how it all started. And then I got to know them properly, and I wanted to know who these amazing people are. And this is how my journey started with Dark Suburb. And to tell you something that we all miss is that when we die, we all become skeletons, right? And this is what they are representing by wearing the skeleton mask. So skeleton mask is not to scare anyone away. It's just that we have to come to terms with our end, how our journey ends.
So
this is how they just don't be afraid of a skeleton. It's like how we watch movies and then there's always something and then we go like that. And we should just know that it's a movie. But when you die, you're also going to be like that. So this is it. Thank you. Who's next?
Go check my stuff so online. Proud of anything you they do. Go online. I be proud blogger. Go online. sca.ry. Go online. Go check my stuff so online. Proud of anything you they do. Go online.